Xiao Chun appears to be a gentleman of noble birth, but in reality, he is a haughty and impulsive scion who, having been pampered from a young age, developed an arrogant personality. He once led his friends to bully the weak Cheng Shu, but unexpectedly developed unusual feelings for Cheng Shu. Unwilling to admit his love for Cheng Shu, he could only flee in panic. The abandoned, inferior, and timid Cheng Shu had no choice but to continue enduring the bullying, which ultimately ruined his future. Unexpectedly, years later, he encountered Li Cheng Shu again, having let him go once due to youthful ignorance. Now, every chance meeting is carefully orchestrated by Xiao Chun, who wants to possess him, slowly consuming him until he is lost in confusion. Li Cheng Shu, oblivious to the good in front of him, tries to escape. "Let's break up, Xiao Chun," Li Cheng Shu says with a hard swallow, as Xiao Chun looks at him with a sinister glare, gripping his neck as if daring him to repeat those words. "You're getting married. Why didn't you tell me?" Li Cheng Shu says with a desolate face. Xiao Chun, uncaring, retorts, "I'm not marrying a woman, so should I marry him?" He pushes Xiao Chun away and turns to leave. He can't continue being foolish. What he thought was mutual affection, in Xiao Quan's eyes, he was merely a lover bought with money. "Li Chengshu, today you have the demeanor of leaving and never coming back." How dare he dictate his mood? How dare he even mention breaking up with him? What's this about Li Chengshu running away with someone? Xiao Dai screams madly, and Xiao Chun regrets it. As long as he can keep him by his side, he is willing to do anything. The story of the 188th Regiment leader chasing his wife to the crematorium begins. Is meeting again a continuation of happiness or the start of a nightmare? 2 years ago, Li Chengshu was cooking when he heard someone calling him, so he quickly turned around and responded. Manager Zhang asked someone nearby to take over and then smiled, saying, "Xiao Li, you're in luck this time." Seeing Li Chengshu's puzzled look, Manager Zhang hurriedly explained that today President Liu was entertaining an important guest, and the guest couldn't stop praising several dishes Chengshu made. Next month, there's going to be a sea party at Victoria Harbor, and the position of the main chef for the Chinese cuisine hasn't been decided yet. They wanted to see if Chengshu was up for it. Chengshu had never encountered such a good opportunity and eagerly accepted. Manager Zhang advised Chengshu to speak less later and told him that the bald man in the blue shirt was President Liu, and the guest was on his left. Manager Zhang gently knocked on the door, and inside, the boss's voice said to come in. Manager Zhang smiled apologetically while leading Chengshu inside. Chengshu was so nervous facing so many people that he didn't know what to do. Realizing this, he quickly greeted them. Chengshu looked at the handsome man in front of him, whose gaze was sharp and scrutinizing. His heart skipped a beat. Could this be the person from middle school? Manager Zhang quickly nudged him, bringing Chengshu back to his senses, and he hurriedly greeted, "Hello, President Xiao." It's been 10 years, he might not recognize him, but they both share the last name Xiao. President Xiao's magnetic voice rang out. "Master Li, right? You look so young. I didn't expect you to be able to make such delicious dishes." Manager Zhang, fearing that President Xiao would find his experience lacking, quickly explained that he only looked young but was actually 30. It was President Xiao's idea to hire Cheng Shu as the main chef for the Chinese cuisine at the sea party, and Cheng Shu hurriedly thanked him. President Xiao, stroking his chin casually, asked, "What's Master Li's full name?" Cheng Shu, trying to stay calm, quietly said, "My name is Li Cheng Shu." He wasn't sure if this was the same Xiao Chun who had bullied him before. Even if it was, he might not remember him. After all, it wasn't him who had done something bad. He didn't need to feel nervous or guilty. Upon hearing this, President Xiao just gave a meaningful, "Oh." President Xiao smiled and said that the menu for the party needs to be decided in advance, and he hoped that Master Li would be involved from the procurement stage. "But you shouldn't feel pressured. Your boss has already agreed," said the boss, trying to please President Xiao. "Master Xiao, it's not easy for us to lend out our chefs, but since we're good brothers, feel free to use him. Master Li's culinary skills are top-notch, though he's a bit introverted and somewhat reclusive. Please be patient with him." President Xiao's gaze lingered on Cheng Shu, and he leaned in to say, "No problem, as long as the chef's tongue can taste, that's all that matters." President Xiao patted his shoulder and whispered in his ear, "Master Li, then I'll come to pick you up in a few days so we can discuss this in detail." Cheng Shu couldn't help but feel, maybe it was just his imagination, that there was a hidden meaning behind this business proposal. After hesitating for a long time, he still couldn't help but quietly tell Manager Zhang that he didn't want to go. Manager Zhang's face darkened as he told him, "We can't afford to offend President Xiao, and besides, the pay is high." "What's wrong with you? Why wouldn't you go?" Suddenly, without thinking, Cheng Shu asked, "What's President Xiao's full name?" Manager Zhang's gaze became even colder and said, "Why does a cook like you want to know this?" Then he helplessly added, "The boss has already agreed to it personally, it's a done deal." Do your best, it's a good opportunity. Li Changsho couldn't say anything against it and had no choice but to agree. What he didn't know was that he had fallen into a trap that Xiao Dai had long planned. Previously, it was mentioned that Li Changsho was going to be the head chef for Xiao's offshore party. When Changsho saw Xiao, he felt that this person looked very much like the scumbag who bullied him in middle school. But 10 years had passed, maybe he was mistaken. Xiao's expression didn't show any particular reaction upon seeing Changsho, and he even praised him for being so young and yet cooking so well. Manager Zhang explained that although Changsho looked young, he was actually 30. Our little Shusho thought to himself, I'm 28, okay. Xiao was very interested and asked for Xiao Li's full name. Li Changsho's mind was uneasy, trying to keep calm. It might not be the same Xiao Chun who bullied him back then, and even if it was, he might not remember him. Stay calm, stay calm. I wasn't the one who did bad things, so I shouldn't feel guilty or nervous, and he replied, my name is Li Changsho. Xiao Chun said, oh, and then got up and walked over to Changsho. The party required advanced preparation of ingredients, and he wanted Changsho to participate as well, giving him the chance to see Changsho often. Manager Zhang said Changsho's cooking skills were top-notch, but his personality was introverted and a bit withdrawn. Xiao Chun said it didn't matter, as a chef just needed to be able to taste with their tongue. As Xiao Chun slowly approached, Changsho started to panic inside. Xiao whispered in Changsho's ear that he would pick him up the next day, giving Changsho a sense of foreboding. After Xiao Chun left, Changsho asked Manager Zhang if he could not go. Manager Zhang angrily said that Xiao's background was very significant and it couldn't be refused. Besides, the pay was several times more than usual. Are you crazy? Why wouldn't you go? Cheng Shu, feeling helpless, asked for his full name. Manager Zhang, impatiently, said, you're just a chef, why ask so many questions? The decision has been made. Instead of thinking about all these pointless things, you'd better show some good performance. This is a great opportunity for promotion. Cheng Shu could only agree helplessly. The memories on the rooftop that year remained Cheng Shu's indelible nightmare. Standing on the rooftop, restless and uneasy, enduring Xiao Quan's endless scolding and insults. What are you doing? Dressing every day like a ragpicker? That's disgusting. Saying that, he kicked Cheng Shu, who fell to the ground. Really, TND, such a wimp, just fell like that. Hearing himself being spoken of that way, Cheng Shu angrily looked at him. Why the dissatisfaction? Do you know who the boss of the school is? Cheng Shu lowered his gaze, clenched his teeth, and squeezed out two words, it's you. Satisfied with the response, Xiao Chun still spoke disdainfully, you, a man, even sit like a woman. Truly disgusting. The ringing of the phone brought Cheng Shu back to reality. He didn't know why he dreamt about the past again. Hello? Picking up the phone, he heard Xiao Quan's voice, which instantly made Cheng Shu tense. Gripping the quilt tightly, Xiao Chun said he would pick him up after work tomorrow to discuss the party. Cheng Shu said he was off tomorrow and wouldn't be working. Xiao Chun then said that's perfect, he'd have more time to serve him. Cheng Shu was speechless, thinking it was just his luck to have a day off and still not want to see him, and then said he'd take tomorrow off. I'll pick you up the day after tomorrow. Without waiting for Cheng Shu's agreement, he hung up, thinking no matter if he was the same Xiao Chun from before, he didn't want to have much to do with this person. Looking at his account balance, he remembered the debt he owed his Aunt C and hadn't yet repaid. He really needed this job and now hoped to get it over with as quickly as possible after meeting him the day after tomorrow. Cheng Shu checked his balance again and thought of Aunt C urging him to repay the money soon. Cheng Shu felt great pressure. Even though he didn't want to meet him, he really needed this job from Xiao Dai. The day arrived quickly, and after work, Cheng Shu, exhausted, had just left the restaurant. When he heard the sound of a car horn and was surprised to see the person he didn't want to see, Xiao Chun had been waiting for a while and said, I've come to pick you up. Xiao Chun extended his hand, and Cheng Shu, feeling embarrassed, lightly gripped his hand. To greet him, he rubbed Cheng Shu's hand firmly, telling him not to be so distant. Xiao Dai approached Li Cheng Shu, saying, do you really not remember me? Thinking to himself, it really was him. How could he forget the person who had once hurt him? Cheng Shu lowered his eyes and said he remembered, we haven't seen each other for over a decade. Seeing your reaction that day, I thought you had forgotten about me. I was quite upset. Xiao Chun spoke self-absorbedly, moving closer to Cheng Shu. He grabbed his arm, urging him not to be so distant and asked if he still held a grudge about the things he did when they were kids. After all, they were at the entrance of the restaurant and there were many acquaintances around. They stood very close and pulled at each other, and some people recognized Cheng Shu. Before Cheng could reply, Xiao Chun impatiently said, let's get in the car first. Using work as an excuse, Cheng Shu couldn't refuse. Xiao Chun took him to a dessert shop, complaining that he had been waiting for Cheng Shu for too long and was hungry. He insisted that Cheng Shu accompany him for a meal. Cheng Shu, I can call you that, right? You've always been tense. Do you dislike me? I'm very happy to meet you here again. All these years, I have never forgotten about you. Back then, I was young and naive, causing a lot of trouble for you and your family. I've always wanted to find an opportunity to apologize to you. I'm sorry, Cheng Shu, can you forgive me? Xiao Quan's sudden sincere apologies took Cheng Shu by surprise, thinking perhaps he truly realized his mistakes, so Cheng Shu said, it's okay. Xiao Chun was very happy to be forgiven by Cheng Shu. He also thanked him for coming to help with the party, saying he had no prior experience and was afraid he wouldn't do well. Xiao Chun comforted him, saying it was fine and would be similar to what they usually did in the restaurant. In casual conversation, Xiao Chun mentioned that Da Li was coming to see him, which made Cheng Shu's hand tremble and the spoon fall to the ground. The name filled him with fear and brought back a flood of bad memories. Xiao Chun didn't notice Cheng Shu's distress and kept talking to himself. Cheng Shu, trembling all over, said, no, I don't want to see him. Xiao Chun was initially surprised but then gently reassured him, all right, if you don't want to see him, I won't let them come, and placed his hand on Shu Shu's head. Cheng Shu quickly avoided Xiao Quan's hand. Was he shy or afraid? This made Xiao Chun feel uncomfortable. He stood up and said, then I'll take you home. Their first meal together ended just like that. Perhaps those memories between them were not yet resolved. How could those troublesome memories between them be easily forgotten? The car stopped in front of a rundown neighborhood. Xiao Chun was surprised and asked, you live in a place like this? Someone of his status naturally had never lived in such a place. As Cheng Shu got out of the car, Xiao Chun asked when his next day off was. Cheng Shu replied, next Wednesday. Xiao Chun asked Cheng Shu to take a day off this Saturday. Cheng Shu said he couldn't take a day off, as it would cost him his full attendance bonus. Xiao Chun sighed. He told Cheng Shu not to worry, as he would talk to the boss. After all, it was his first time hosting a party. He hoped to make it perfect and asked Cheng Shu if he could cooperate with his work. Hearing this, Cheng Shu could only reluctantly agree. Xiao Quan's sudden and strong presence caught him off guard. That distant, already blurred nightmare gradually became clearer because of Xiao Quan's appearance. 13 years ago, Cheng Shu was also a well-known figure at school. In this key high school, dominated by children of high-ranking officials, Cheng Shu, who got in by merit, seemed so out of place. His demeanor and way of dealing with people were not very manly, so he became known as a sissy among students. Classmates avoided and bullied him. The rumors and gossip behind him felt like knives stabbing his frail body. At that time, to make a living, Cheng Shu had to work at a restaurant every day to earn living expenses. The only thing that could comfort him was the fantasy of finding a good job and starting a new life when he grew up. To change his life. Xiao Chun, on the other hand, was a star figure, esteemed, arrogant, and handsome. He was truly dazzling. At this moment, Cheng Shu secretly watched the radiant Xiao Chun in the crowd. In his heart, a strange flutter surged, but he wasn't sure what exactly was different about himself. It was Xiao Chun who gave him the answer. What are you doing here? Cheng Shu squinted his eyes and saw it was Xiao Chun speaking to him. Cheng Shu quickly got up and tugged at his wrinkled clothes. Xiao Chun stepped back repeatedly, saying in a disgusted tone, what are you doing here? With a commanding tone, he asked, what are you doing here? Cheng Shu, seeing Xiao Chun's expression, said sadly. In the relentless Xiao Chun waved his hand and said, take your stuff and get out immediately, adding, the air stinks with you around. Cheng Shu, lifting his backpack, reluctantly walked away. But he hadn't gone far when Xiao Chun stopped him again, saying, just stay here. Wait for me to leave before you can go. Xiao Chun had only walked a few steps when Guade Tu said to Cheng Shu, heard your dad and mom dumped you. Ran off with Hu Lijian, huh? And that your grandma is also gone, is that true? Doesn't he care about you? Look how dirty you are, how can you bear to show yourself? Hearing this, Cheng Shu began to cry out of distress. After making him cry, Xiao Chun, annoyed, backhanded him with a slap, cursing, is your life really that miserable that all you can do is cry? Then, he kicked open the door to the rooftop, and Zhou Li and the others came in. They were looking for Xiao Chun. Seeing Xiao Chun and Cheng Shu together, one of them said, isn't this the effeminate guy? Aren't you afraid of being infected by being with her? And laughed. Look, you made the poor girl cry. As Xiao Chun was explaining, when I came up she was already there. I couldn't go back down. Zhou Li stepped forward, grabbed Li Chengshu's hair, and said, just like the rumors, huh? Your Majesty the gun, you're not disgusted by her sickly classmates? Zhou Li asked, aren't you disgusted by her not changing her clothes every day without fail? Not afraid of catching a contagious disease? What will happen to Chengshu next? Let's talk about it in the next episode. Zhou Li was still holding onto Li Chengshu's hair. Li Wenxun said, aren't you disgusted by her not changing her clothes every day without fail, not afraid of catching a contagious disease? Xiaochun felt a bit unbearable and then said, let's go. I want to drink something. It's too hot here. Zhou Li fiercely threw Chengshou against the wall and said, stay away from us in the future. At this moment, Xiaochun didn't know what day of the week it was and glanced back at Chengshou, who had suffered a lot and was urged by someone to, let's go, Xiaochun. What's the point? After they left, Chengshou was left alone, squatting in a corner and starting to cry. Zhou Li washed his hands several times with disdain, saying, I'm afraid her energy will infect me. Li Wenxun said, people like them are all homosexuals. I heard that her brother's company always has people like Li Chengshou. It's said they earn money by selling their butts to men. Don't be fooled by her dirty, messy appearance. If you look closely, she's actually quite delicate. Her voice is soft, and her physique is slim and weak. That's just how these people are. Xiaochun said busily, without evidence, these words are useless. Zhou Li sat next to Xiaochun and said he had a way to prove whether Chengshou was homosexual or not. Today was a snowy day, and Chengshou was also in a good mood, thinking to herself, on the way to work, there's no need to be so blind anymore. Suddenly, a palm blocked our little Shushou's way. At first, Xiaogun and the others said to him, you're really harder to find than a star. We've come several times and haven't seen you. Do you always walk this route because you're following someone's first move? Everyone was discussing, isn't this Xiaogun? Are you looking for the queen to challenge her or something? Xiaogun said impatiently, what are you looking at? Get your heads back. Zhao Bian thought to himself, aren't you just a fart? Seeing Xiaogun showing off made everyone really walk away. Come with me, Chengshou said. What for? To have some fun, Chengshou refused, saying, I still need to go to work and earn money. Xiaogun was about to show off when Li Wen quickly said, it's like this. We felt that our attitude towards you on the rooftop that day was too much. We want to apologize and think you're quite alright. We want to be friends with you. Chengshou thought to himself, is there anyone else willing to be friends with me? Everyone was a bit moved. Additionally, they wanted to ask for his help with something. Xiaogun looked dreamily at Li Wen, who winked at Xiaogun. Xiaogun quickly said, yeah, for the task. And it pays 500 a day, much better than your job. Chengshou was impressed. 500? Did I hear that right? Holding 500 yuan in his hand, he was moved to action. Can you come with us now? They took Chengshou to a luxurious club. They also had Chengshou change into clothes they had specially prepared for him. Holding the clothes, Chengshou asked, can I not go? Xiaochun said impatiently, stop talking nonsense, change quickly. Do I need to change it for you myself? Chengshou replied, frustrated, can you guys turn around? I feel like hitting him every time I see him now. Li Wenxun told Xiaochun, remember what we agreed on that day? You were supposed to shadow him. If you can't keep playing, just admit defeat. Admit defeat? The concept of losing doesn't exist in my life. Xiaochun turned around and saw Chengshou changing his clothes. Suddenly he blushed and swallowed hard. Chengshou, having changed, said, this shirt seems too tight. He pulled at his shirt, which was revealing too much, and said it was too revealing. Xiaochun was watching. As soon as Xiaochun snapped out of it, he grabbed Chengshou's hand and went inside. Zhou Li said, you did it, you really brought us in here. Li Wenxun said, this is my brother's club. How could the manager not give me face? Chengshou looked at Xiaochun drinking and thought to himself, he looks just like a boy 2 years younger than me. He doesn't seem that scary. Just then, Xiaochun looked up and saw Chengshou looking intently at him, and aggressively forced Chengshou to drink a cup of liquor. Impatiently, he said, drinking a bit of liquor is nothing much, and then he picked up a glass to toast. Chengshou struggled, splashing Xiaochun with the drink. Xiaogun angrily threw the cup onto the floor and started cursing loudly, with Chengshou terrified, squatting on the couch, trembling. Xiaogun dragged off his clothes and pulled Chengshou up to wipe himself clean. Zhaochun forced Chengshou to drink, and during the struggle, the liquor spilled on Xiaogun's clothes. Annoyed, Xiaogun tore off his soiled clothes and threw them on the ground. Shirtless, he grabbed Chengshou's hands, demanding him to wipe it clean. Chengshou quickly agreed. Chengshou, with his hands on Xiaogun, earnestly wiped it clean. Such close contact inevitably made him blush. Just then, Zhou Li appeared, tearing away Xiaogun's waistband, saying it should be done below as well. Xiaogun forcefully brushed Zhou Li's hand away. Make it clean, Xiaogun demanded. Chengshou asked uncertainly, hear what? Xiaogun cursed loudly, damn it, what the hell are you thinking? This made everyone else burst into laughter. Today, young master is giving you face, I'll let you off this time. Xiaogun pointed at the large cup of beer on the table, finish this barrel, and we'll call it even. Chengshou looked at the large cup of beer. Thinking there was no escape today, he closed his eyes. In silence, Xiaogun stared blankly at Chengshou, thinking, looking at him, with such delicate skin, he's actually quite cute. He shook his head, feeling he must be bewitched. How could he find him cute? Lu spoke harshly, finish it all, and if even a drop is left, I'll beat you to death. After finishing, Changsho felt a bit drunk. Just then, Li Wenchun's brother suddenly arrived. He doesn't allow him to hang out in such places, so he widened his eyes and yelled, "Brother." His brother came forward, grabbed his ear, and scolded, "Are you taking my words for granted? How many times have I told you not to come to places like this? Instead of studying properly, you're always thinking about all this nonsense. Believe it or not, I'll beat you to death." Just then, his brother saw Li Changsho sitting on the sofa. Stepping forward, he slapped her on the backhand and scolded, "You shameless bitch, who the hell let you in? Are you desperate, or is your ass itching? Daring to take on underage clients?" With that, he fiercely kicked Changsho in the stomach. At this moment, the young group alliance stepped forward, pushing away Li Wenchun's brother and stood in front of Changsho. They said, "Bro, this is my classmate." Li Wenchun's brother, looking at Changsho, who was curled up on the sofa, disdainfully said, "A student dressing like this is simply sick." Then, he dragged Li Wenchun away. The others said they would leave too. "You take him home. He's just unlucky today." Shachun nodded and then, Shachun sat down next to Changsho and asked how he was doing. "Are you okay?" Seeing Changsho curled up on the sofa, crying non-stop from the pain, he thought, someone like Li Wenchun, who really mingles in the underworld, couldn't handle being beaten by two adults, let alone the frail Changsho. So, he consoled, "It's okay, no bones hurt. Stop crying." Patting him on the back, he said, "I'll take you home." Changsho was in so much pain he couldn't move, thinking one shouldn't be greedy for money that doesn't belong to them. Now he's indeed facing retribution. Shachun, holding Changsho, said, "If you dare to vomit on me, I'll throw you down." Changsho said, "I want to go home," and then fell asleep. Shachun, helplessly, said, "But I don't know where your home is." It was mentioned that Changsho was heavily drunk and got roughed up quite badly by Li Wenchun. Everyone was frozen on the sofa. Xiaogun suddenly picked up Changsho. As Changsho muttered about wanting to go home, he fell asleep. But Xiaogun didn't know where Changsho lived. Looking at the now sleeping Changsho, he reluctantly took him to a hotel, muttering about the smell and insisting on cleaning him up first. He tossed Changsho into the bathtub, then cleaned himself up a bit, thinking how unlucky he was today. In the end, he was left alone dealing with a pretty drunken mess, feeling dirtier and uglier than ever, and complained about never having been so disheveled and having to bathe a drunk. Reluctantly, Xiaogun peeled off Changsho's shirt, revealing his white, delicate skin, and was about to take off his pants when he suddenly paused, thinking how removing his clothes felt like undressing a woman, his face reddening at the thought. He blamed it on the child being too effeminate. Xiaogun stared blankly at Changsho soaking in the bathtub, noticing his slender waist and long legs, reminiscent of the Japanese women he saw in a movie a few days ago. Unaware of his thoughts, Xiaogun widened his eyes and slapped himself hard to stay alert and stop his thoughts. His face was already flushed red. Initially planning to scold Changsho, Xiaogun instead became a personal caretaker for him, meticulously wiping down his body, wondering how he could have such fanciful thoughts about someone he found annoying and effeminate. As he thought, his face turned red again and he turned off the tap. He quickly wrapped Shusho in a bath towel and threw her onto the bed, then fled in a hurry. The next day, Changsho was woken up by the ringing of the telephone. The front desk reminded him to check out by 12 p.m. Changsho said he would check out, recalling whether it was Xiaochun who had undressed him and bathed him yesterday. At that moment, he saw the clock on the wall and realized it was too late. He hurriedly packed up and rushed to school. On his way to the classroom, the classmates looked at him in a peculiar way, whispering among themselves. What's wrong with his face? Did he get into a fight? Changsho went to the bathroom and saw in the mirror that his face was obviously swollen. Suddenly remembering that Xiaochun still had his backpack, he decided to find Xiaochun to retrieve it. Just then, someone bumped into him, almost causing him to fall. Turning around, he saw a group of boys standing in front of him. They asked, "Where did Xiaochun take you yesterday?" and pushed Changsho against the wall. Just as Xiaochun was about to deliver Changsho's backpack, he heard the commotion. He pushed open the door, grabbed the boy who was about to hit Changsho, and intervened. With just a backhand, the bad boy bullying Changsho was knocked down. Seeing that it was Xiaochun who came, everyone hurriedly ran away. It must be said that at this moment, our Xiao Da finally acted like a human being. He lifted Changsho's chin, gently pressed his tender cheek, and touched the corner of the kid's mouth. Changsho, with cold tears, said it hurts, and Xiaochun withdrew his hand. He gave him the backpack and grabbed Changsho's hand, saying he would take him to the infirmary, but Changsho struggled, not wanting to go. Xiaochun didn't listen to him at all, saying the class was already over. Dragging him into the infirmary, Changsho reminded the doctor not to mess around with things. Xiaochun handed him a cup of water and some anti-inflammatory pills. He then took some ointment, lifted up Changsho's shirt saying, "Let me apply some medicine to you." This startled Changsho, who wondered what was wrong with Xiaochun, and ended up spitting out the water he was drinking in shock. Previously, it was mentioned that Xiaochun forcibly dragged Changsho to the infirmary, and after taking the medicine, insisted on Changsho taking off his shirt to apply the medicine. This really scared Changsho, making him spit out the water in his mouth in fear. Changshu asked in surprise, "Why?" Xiaochun said, "Your stomach. I'm just applying some medicine for you. What's there to ask?" As he spoke, he pushed Changshu onto the bed. Changshu looked at Xiaochun and thought, "Why is he applying medicine to me? Doesn't he hate me? If it weren't for him, I wouldn't have been beaten for no reason. Could it be that he's feeling guilty?" Xiaochun lifted Changshu's shirt, saw the bruises on her stomach, and said, "I'll give you a massage, but it'll hurt a bit. Bear with it." Then he started pressing down. Changshu screamed in pain, saying, "It hurts, stop." But Xiaochun ignored her and said, "It won't heal if I don't press it. Better short-term pain than long-term pain." Changshu struggled, saying, "It hurts so much. I don't want you to press it anymore." At this, Xiao Quan's temper flared, and he said impatiently, "Why are you so fragile? It won't kill you." Changshu, feeling wronged, turned her face away and said, "Who asked for your help?" At that moment, Xiaochun froze, thinking back to the morning when he had heard that this girl hadn't shown up, and how he'd been restless all day. The moment he heard she was back, he rushed over and even gave her a massage. What was he doing? Am I an idiot? The more he thought about it, the angrier he became, so he threw the massage oil at Changshu and said, "You don't know when to appreciate kindness." Changshu suddenly sat up and called out to Xiaochun, who was about to leave with a smug expression. Xiaochun, feeling triumphant, said, "What? Regretting it now?" Changshu held out money and said, "This is yours. I don't want it." This completely enraged Xiaochun. He furiously slapped the 100 yuan bill out of Changshu's hand and said angrily, "Keep it as medical expenses." That day, Changshu sat alone on the rooftop, thinking, "It's been a week and Xiaochun and the others haven't come looking for me. I should return the money and the clothes, but I really don't want to see them. Maybe I'll return it when I run into them." At that moment, the door to the rooftop suddenly flew open with a bang, startling Changshu so much that her little bread roll almost fell to the ground. She looked up and saw Xiaochun. He threw his school bag next to Changshu and sat down, asking, "Why do you still look like such a mess? Where are the clothes I bought for you?" Changshu replied, "In the desk drawer. I'll give them to you after school, okay?" Xiaochun, with disdain, said, "Are you sick? Why would I want the clothes you've worn? With your underdeveloped body, even if I could wear them, how would I prevent your lice from jumping onto me?" As he spoke, Xiaochun looked at Changshu's chin and said, The swelling's gone down." He reached out to press it, causing Changshu to yelp in pain. He asked, "Does it still hurt?" As he spoke, he tried to lift Changshu's shirt to check, but Changshu said, "No." She struggled, and in the process, jam from her bread got smeared on Xiao Quan's trousers. Xiaochun kicked the little bread roll aside angrily and said, "What are you plotting now? I just want to see if your stomach is healing." Changshu, flustered, quickly tried to find something to clean his trousers. Xiaochun, with a malicious grin, said, "Last time I let you off easily, and now you dare resist again? This time, you won't be so lucky." He pointed to his trousers and said, "Lick them clean." The narrator then notes, Xiao Quan's hair feels nice to the touch, and his whole body is like a small animal. Wherever you touch, it feels great, and he never lashes out. At that moment, Xiaochun suddenly realized something. He had grown fond of touching Changshu because he treated her like a fool. Happily, Xiaochun rubbed Changshu's head and said, "From now on, stay with me." After that, Xiaochun seemed to really enjoy playing his game of taking care of Changshu. Not only did he drag her around the school, but he also made a point of walking with her after class. Initially, Changshu was terrified, thinking she must have done something wrong again to deserve this. But after a few days, she gradually relaxed. Aside from giving her food, Xiaochun mostly treated her like a toy, sometimes ruffling her hair, other times pinching her cheeks. Eventually, Changshu got used to Xiao Quan's constant presence, and her fear of him diminished. One day, as she held the food Xiaochun bought her and watched him sleep, she thought, thinking back carefully, although Xiaochun always threatened to hurt me, he never really did. In fact, he's been treating me better than my own parents, taking me to eat good food, applying medicine to my wounds, giving me clean clothes, and telling everyone not to bully me. Although he still says harsh things when he's upset, I feel kind of cared for." Just then, Xiaochun opened his eyes, and Changshu said, "Thank you." Suddenly, Xiaochun leaned closer and asked Changshu to give him a massage. He mentioned that he had rented a place near the school, so Changshu could rest there during lunch breaks. Changshu looked at Xiaochun and asked, "Why are you taking such good care of me?" Xiaochun replied, "Because I feel like it." Then, grabbing Cheng Shu's chin, he said, as long as you behave, I'll make sure you graduate smoothly. That afternoon, Xiao Chun casually held Cheng Shu's hand as they walked, when they ran into Li Wenchun. He approached and said, looks like your brother really punished you hard, huh? Li Wenchun replied, I couldn't get out of bed for days, and now that I'm better, they've sent me back to school. Seeing Cheng Shu, he said to Xiao Chun, bro, you don't have to go this far. Dolly's too busy chasing girls to care about our bet. You don't have to take it so seriously. Xiao Chun responded, he's actually pretty fun, like a little puppy. Since I'm bored, I might as well keep him around for fun. Li Wenchun said, you're crazy. Do what you want. My brother set a curfew for me, so I have to go. Let's hang out at your place next time. Xiao Chun then took Cheng Shu to the rented apartment. Although the building was a bit run down, the interior was newly renovated. Cheng Shu said, I've never seen such a beautiful place. Xiao Chun replied, it's simple, but it's clean, and it has everything you need. From now on, come here to rest. Don't hide out on the rooftop anymore. You can even come here at night if you want. Xiao Chun then handed her a key. Cheng Shu, still in disbelief, asked, are you really letting me stay here? Xiao Chun cupped her face and said, of course I am. Don't say no, take whatever I give you, don't be too polite. Xiao Chun took Cheng Shu to the bedroom to take a look. Xiao Chun lay on the bed and said, damn, I'm so sleepy. The old man's lecture in the field was so boring, thankfully it's over now. Then he patted the bed and said to Cheng Shu, come here, this bed is super comfortable. Cheng Shu pondered for a moment and walked over slowly, then Xiao Chun suddenly grabbed Cheng Shu and turned him around. Xiao Chun, lying on the bed, said it was very comfortable and also asked Cheng Shu to try it. Cheng Shu walked over slowly. Xiao Chun grabbed Li Cheng Shu and pulled him over, slowly leaning in and said, I've gotten used to your scent from being with you so much. Did you take a bath yesterday? Cheng Shu sniffed and then tightened his arms. He said to Li Cheng Shu, that explains it. From now on, you need to take a bath and change clothes every day. Got it? Cheng Shu tried to move away, but Xiao Chun said not to move, I want to sleep for a while. Suddenly, Lin Sheng thought of something and Xiao Chun picked up the phone angrily saying, darn, what timing. He answered the phone saying, I know, I'm coming down now. Then he told Cheng Shu, my dad is coming home today, the driver is here to pick me up. It's up to you if you want to stay tonight. You should come over tomorrow, got it? Cheng Shu nodded in agreement, while Xiao Chun stared at him unwillingly, suddenly lunging forward, frightening Cheng Shu who yelled, what are you doing? Xiao Chun retorted, just a hug, what's wrong with that? Why are you so stingy? Xiao Chun stood up and said to Cheng Shu, I'm leaving, see you tomorrow. As Cheng Shu watched his departing figure, Cheng Shu blushed. Walking through the campus that day, he thought to himself, Xiao Chun has changed since we first met. Though overbearing and hot-tempered, with harsh words, he is actually a good person. His chest felt warm during the hug, and he had a clean scent. Feeling so fortunate to be friends with Xiao Chun. Suddenly, Xiao Chun appeared out of nowhere, grabbing Cheng Shu's arm angrily and asked, why didn't you come that day? You were clearly told to come back the next day, why didn't you? Cheng Shu replied with a grievance, but that was a Saturday, a holiday. Xiao Chun's temper almost got the better of him as he said, even if there's no school, if I ask you to go to that apartment, you should go. I waited for you all day. MD, you don't even have a mobile phone. I had no idea where to find you. What are your ears for? Can't you understand human language? Cheng Shu shivered as he repeatedly apologized, I'm sorry, so sorry. Xiao Chun then pulled out his phone and checked. Indeed, it was Friday. Feeling wronged, he thought, a promise must be kept no matter what. If I could remember, why couldn't he? He tortured himself all night, foolishly waiting from daylight till sunset at that little hill apartment. At this moment, Xiao Chun took out a mobile phone and said, take this, you must always carry it with you. I need to be able to find you at any time. Cheng Shu replied, this is too expensive, I don't want it. Xiao Chun, impatiently, said, just take it if I tell you to. It was given to me by someone else. My family has so many we can't use them all. Cheng Shu stated that he didn't know how to use it. Xiao Chun said it's simple, after school, come to my apartment and I'll teach you. Dolly arrived at the apartment, plopped down on the sofa, and said, couldn't you rent a bigger place? Li Wen swiftly replied, what do you know? This is called a golden hideaway, it can't be too big. Cheng Shu stood aside, watching them joke around freely, feeling somewhat disappointed, thinking that this place was special to Xiao Chun, that he wouldn't let others come over, just the two of them. At this moment, Xiao Chun suddenly put his arm around Cheng Shu's shoulder and said, come here, I'll teach you how to use the phone. Others teased, are you going to consummate the marriage so soon? After locking the room door, Xiao Chun said, don't mind them, they talk nonsense. Xiao Chun earnestly taught Cheng Shu, saying it's very simple, you only need two functions, one to make calls and the other to send texts. When you're calling me, Just press the 2 green buttons, got it? Cheng Shou seriously replied, and for sending texts, press here, then here. Cheng Shou found Xiaochun's way of composing texts very interesting. Then Xiaochun took out his phone to show Cheng Shou and said, "This is the message you sent me." Seeing Xiaochun's confidence, Cheng Shou blushed and replied, "You clearly sent this yourself." Xiaochun said, "Then send me one." Cheng Shou took the phone and started typing. Xiaochun tried to peek at what Cheng Shou was writing from behind. Cheng Shou covered the phone and said, "Wait until I've sent it, then you can look." Xiaochun's heart was pounding, wondering what Cheng Shou would send him. Then Xiaochun's phone chimed. He picked it up immediately to see, Xiaochun is a big troublemaker. Cheng Shou threw down the phone and hugged Li Chengshou, starting to tickle him while asking, "Who's the big troublemaker? Quick, tell me, am I a good guy? Am I nice to you?" Cheng Shou blushed and said, "Yes." Then Cheng Shou's stomach growled with hunger. Xiaochun stood up and said, "Let's go see what they're having for lunch." They walked to the door and heard the sound of a man and woman arguing. Cheng Shou asked, "Are they watching TV?" Xiaochun seemed to have thought of something. With a mischievous smile, "Come over, I'll take you to see something fun." They walked into the living room, and saw the 3 of them watching TV intently. Cheng Shou also glanced at the TV, and then became panicked. With a shout, he startled the 3 deeply engrossed in watching TV. Li Sheng angrily said, "I'm noisy, you scared me to death, it feels like being taken by my mom." Xiaochun took Cheng Shou's hand. "What's there to be afraid of? Which guy doesn't watch this? Come, sit down," Li Wenchun said. This was sneaked out from his brother. "It's a rare opportunity, if we don't watch it today, we might never get the chance again." Xiaochun said, "You can even get your hands on this kind of resource, not sharing it with me, that's really mean." Li Wenchun said, "You and your little wife. It's heating up inside the room. How could I dare disturb you?" Xiaochun saw Cheng Shou's face and didn't dare look at the TV. "Speaking of what you did back then, the TV isn't going to eat you. What's there to be afraid of?" Cheng Shou said, "We can't watch this," and Dolly laughed mockingly, "Idiot, what's there you can't watch? Look at yourself. Watch it well and learn. Won't you need this when you get a girlfriend someday?" Xiaochun started his own inner performance, thinking, "When I used to watch this kind of TV, I thought the Japanese women inside had fair skin, slim waists, but now I feel that Cheng Shou's skin, waist, and legs aren't worse than theirs. His face also looks better than theirs. If there are scenes with Da Zhang following, I won't bring up your imagination anymore. Fill it in yourself." Xiaochun thought and thought, then suddenly stood up with a swoosh, startling everyone nearby. Dolly exclaimed, "Wow, what's up with you? Don't scare people like that." Cheng Shou was also startled, thinking, did I offend him again somehow? Preview of the next episode. The complications between Xiaochun and Cheng Shou. Xiaochun turned and said he was going downstairs to buy something to eat. The door was forcefully slammed shut as soon as he left. Xiaochun leaned against the door. His heart was racing, thinking, I'm not normal anymore, really not normal. What is going on? Why did watching TV make me think of Cheng Shou? He's a guy. A guy. Xiaochun slapped his face hard. Then he returned with food. While Dolly and the others ate and joked around, only Xiaochun and Cheng Shou ate in silence. Xiaochun thought, if I had known, I wouldn't have brought them here. This was originally just me and Cheng Shou. He thought about cuddling with Cheng Shou and having a nice nap at noon, but it was all ruined by them. After eating, Xiaochun pulled Cheng Shou aside, saying they should go to the rooftop for a while. They sat on the rooftop. Cheng Shou asked Xiaochun, will you ever have a girlfriend? Xiaochun, proud and confident, replied, anyway, until now, no girl has caught my eye. Xiaochun asked with a smile, by the way, did you think that girl on the TV was pretty? Cheng Shou's face instantly turned red at the question. Xiaochun said, why does your face always turn red so easily? No matter what I say, it turns red. Your face is as thin as paper. Do you really feel nothing? Then, his hand roguishly brushed against Cheng Shou's pants, making Cheng Shou lean back repeatedly. Xiaochun said impatiently, what are you pretending for? Are you even a man? Cheng Shou said, I am. Xiaochun turned Cheng Shou's face, saying, why do I feel you're even more like a girl? Cheng Shou said, feeling wronged, don't say that about me. Xiaochun looked at Cheng Shou and said, you're not even a guy, you're prettier than a girl. After saying this, Xiaochun was stunned, thinking, did I just say what I was really thinking? Cheng Shou said, Xiaochun, you jerk, you're a big jerk. Xiaochun said, alright, I was just joking around, don't be so petty. I didn't mean anything by it, I was just speaking the truth. Cheng Shou pouted and glared at Xiaochun in front of him, really wanting to roast him. Xiaochun pinched Cheng Shou's face, saying, your mouth looks like it could hang 2 pounds of pork. Cheng Shou struggled, saying, let go of me. Xiaochun suddenly grabbed Cheng Shou tightly. They were very close. At this age of youthful passion, their hearts were beating fast. Xiaochun closed his eyes and leaned in for a kiss. Just then, the door to the rooftop suddenly opened, and someone shouted, "Xiaochun, Xiaochun," and Changsho looked over. It was Dolly and the others. Dolly angrily shouted, "What are you doing?" Xiaochun forcefully pushed Changsho away. Li Wensun grabbed Xiaochun's collar and yelled, "What the hell is wrong with you? What the hell is going on?" Xiaochun said anxiously, "I don't know." "Of course, you're not like Ton Laika then." Li Wensun grabbed Changsho by the neck and said, "So it's you seducing Xiaochun? What did we say before? Turns out he is Ton Laika. I feel sick." Then he slapped Changsho and said, "Today, I'll teach him a lesson." Changsho looked at Xiaochun in despair, hoping he would help him, but Xiaochun was indifferent. They beat and kicked Changsho, taunting him and trying to pull off his clothes to check if he was really a man, scaring Changsho badly. Xiaochun looked back at Changsho, who was in a miserable state. Perhaps out of a slight pity, he told Dolly, "Enough, let's go." Dolly said, "If you dare tell anyone about this, or slander Xiaochun, I'll make sure you suffer." Changsho sat alone in a corner, crying sadly, thinking, "I didn't seduce anyone and I'm not Ton Laika." Xiaochun looked back at him but left without turning around. Since the incident on the rooftop, Xiaochun stayed home and refused to come out. Li Wensun and Zhou Li, who were classmates of Changsho's, kept making things difficult for him, making his days at school increasingly unbearable. His desk, textbooks, and notebooks were covered in filthy insults. During class, people even threw chalk at his back. The teachers were indifferent. The nasty rumors spread quickly through the school, turning him from a weak, effeminate boy into a shameless, disgusting Ton Laika. He endured ridicule and pointing every day. In just 3 or 4 days, it felt like years had passed. One day, a junior handed him a note. The note was supposedly from Xiaochun, telling him to stay in the classroom after school so Xiaochun could meet him. After school, everyone left, and Changsho sat alone, wondering what Xiaochun wanted to say. Would he explain what happened that day or comfort him, promising to stop others from bullying him? If so, that would be wonderful. Thinking about it, he accidentally fell asleep. When he woke up, it was already dark, and the place was empty. Xiaochun hadn't come. He pressed the switch on the wall, but at this time, the school had already cut off the power. Changsho walked down the stairs, surrounded by darkness, thinking, Xiaochun didn't come. He let me down. The school gates had already been locked, and he was trapped inside. Changsho pounded on the iron gate, shouting, "Is anyone there? Is anyone there?" But the school was deserted. The security guard came over and said, "What's going on? School's over. Why aren't you home? Why are you still here after the gate opened?" Changsho said, "Thank you, uncle." The guard looked at him and said, "Oh, it's you." The guard kindly said he would quickly take Changsho home on his bike. Changsho was happy and thanked him but didn't expect the guard to be so lecherous. The guard told Changsho to hold onto his waist, saying he had drunk a little and was unsteady. "What if I fall? Better hold on tight so you don't fall off, or I won't be responsible." Changsho had no choice but to hold the guard's waist. The distance was close, and Changsho could smell the guard's unpleasant body odor. The guard showed a lewd smile, stroked Changsho's hand, and said, "That's better. If you fall, I'll feel bad." He asked, "I heard you're one of them. Is that true?" "Don't worry, I won't tell anyone." Changsho denied it, but the guard suddenly stopped the bike and said, "What are you denying? I heard about what you did." As he spoke, he grabbed Changsho's bottom, saying, "People like you must enjoy it." Changsho struggled and shouted for help. A resident opened their window and shouted, "Why are you yelling so late at night? People are trying to sleep." The lecherous guard, panicked, slapped Changsho and said, "Shut up. Scream one more time, I dare you." He punched Changsho again. The guard scorned, "Why are you pretending to be so pure, you shameless thing?" Afraid that the residents would call the police, the guard hurriedly got on his bike and left, leaving Changsho lying on the cold street. Bruised and in pain, Changsho was filled with despair. Wondering why life treated him so cruelly, the following months became the darkest time of his life. After the assault, Changsho cried for over 2 hours as he walked home. When he arrived, he found his mother had suffered a severe stroke. With his family's meager savings exhausted and facing relentless bullying at school, Changsho even considered ending his life. He couldn't understand why he was enduring such hardship. He didn't harm anyone or do anything wrong. Why didn't anyone like him? Why was he living like this? But reality didn't give him time to dwell on it. He sold the family's old house at a low price. He kneeled to borrow money from all his relatives and never returned to school, taking on 3 jobs by himself. Despite all his efforts, he couldn't save his mother when she passed away. Changsho was nearly deaf, broke, and utterly alone. He was left with nothing but despair. Suddenly, Changsho woke up from the nightmare. He thought to himself, "Luckily, a chef helped me pay for culinary school and introduced me to a job in Shenzhen. If it weren't for Xiaochun's sudden appearance, I'd have long forgotten these painful memories. I'm scared Xiaochun will cause a huge stir in my life again, but he, like before, never gives me a chance to refuse." The next day, Mr. Chen called Changsho to his office and said, "I heard from Xiaochun that you don't want to disrupt your work." As the boss, he was pleased, but he said, "For Xiaochun's sake, even if I have to make a loss, We need to make a great start for our Pearl River Delta expansion. Manager Zhang said they were already short on staff, and Mr. Chen was really making a sacrifice for him. Xiaochun replied. Chen is really considerate. I'll make sure to bring Chengshou back in great shape in 2 weeks. After they left, Manager Zhang patted Chengshou's shoulder and said, do a good job. Remember to treat Mr. Xiao well. Our boss has something to ask of him, so don't offend him. Understand? Wait here, and Mr. Xiao will take you once he's done. In the car, Xiaochun said, you're a busy man. I've been calling your phone all day, but it was off. Chengshou replied, I turned it off during work hours. As Chengshou fastened his seatbelt, Xiaochun took his hand, insisting on helping him buckle up. The narrator comments, in reality, Xiaochun is no different from that lecherous guard. Suddenly, Xiaochun leaned close to Chengshou and said, why are you so nervous every time we're alone? Chengshou, nervously clutching his seatbelt, replied, I'm not. Chengshou's small hand also held on tightly. Xiaochun, pleased, gave a subtle smile. He took Chengshou to meet the organizers of the yacht party. He told Chengshou they would go out to eat, but Chengshou refused, saying, no, I need to go home and do laundry and clean up. Xiaochun, displeased, said, you can do that after dinner. Don't you need to eat? He thought, is he really rejecting me with such a lame excuse? Chengshou insisted he could cook for himself. Xiaochun replied, you really have a lot of pride, don't you? So many people would make a reservation just to have a meal with me. Can't you give me some face? The pushy Xiaochun said forcefully, get in the car, Chengshou, or should I carry you? Chengshou hesitated, can I just go home? Xiaochun said, I'll take you home right now, but I'm coming with you in the next episode. Xiaochun will make his way into Chengshou's home. Xiaochun insisted on visiting Chengshou's home. Chengshou, unable to refuse, reluctantly agreed. After they arrived, Xiaochun said, why is it so hot here? Turn on the air conditioning. Chengshou replied, we only have a fan. Xiaochun was surprised and plopped down beside the fan, telling Chengshou to get him some tissues to wipe his sweat. Chengshou said, you sit here, I'm going to take a shower. As Xiaochun wiped his sweat, he thought, how did he manage in this poorly ventilated old place? Especially on the top floor. He wandered over to the table. Picking up a book, he noted that Chengshou was interested in accounting. Just then, Chengshou came out of the bathroom. Xiaochun looked at him, thinking, almost 30, but he still has the innocence of a young student, unpolished and genuine. I've been craving it for over 10 years, I wish I could devour it right now. Chengshou said he is now self-studying rapidly every day. Xiaochun said he could hire a professional accounting teacher for Chengshou, but Chengshou declined. Thank you, Xiaochun said as he picked up a towel to dry Chengshou's hair, but Chengshou dodged, wary. Xiaochun sighed, saying he was hungry. Let's cook, Chengshou said as he crouched down to search for ingredients in the fridge. Xiaochun caught a glimpse of his slender waist, imagining how he would like to embrace him tightly, strip off those bothersome pants, to leave a row of bite marks on his back, his neck so white and slender, his waist so fine, looking absolutely delicious, making one unable to resist the urge to hold him close and knead. Chengshou placed the cooked dishes on the table. The particularly picky goose eyed the full spread, finding none of its favorites, vowing to tame it later so it could pick whatever it wanted. Seeing Xiaochun being picky, Chengshou thought, if he knew he didn't like coriander and garlic, he would have added them to every dish. Xiaochun praised, Chengshou, your cooking is really delicious. Chengshou said thanks. Watching Chengshou eat, Xiaochun thought although he ate like a lady, it was quite terrifying. After dinner, Xiaochun couldn't take his eyes off Chengshou. Washing dishes and wiping tables, doing house chores, Chengshou writes helplessly, it's past 8, why hasn't he left yet? Xiaochun takes a deep breath and says, do you really dislike me that much? Why don't you ever talk to me? Chengshou stammers, I don't know what to say. I can't speak well. Xiaochun, with a pained expression, asks Chengshou, you weren't like this before. Why is it so hard for you to speak now? Is it because of me? He grabs Chengshou's hand, urging him to talk about what had happened in the past. Why did you retire after I left? If you still blame me, just say it. I'll make it up to you. Chengshou says, there's nothing to say. My retirement has nothing to do with you. Xiaochun says, if you don't want to talk, I won't force you. I just want to tell you that I've never forgotten you all these years. I'm sorry, I was young and scared back then. Chengshou, with a dismissive ear, says, stop, I don't want to hear it. Xiaochun responds, I had to say it, it should have been said back then. You were my first love. This wasn't just any statement for Xiaochun, his feelings had just begun. The first time he had an indescribable dream, he thought of Chengshou. The first time he hid under the covers for an indescribable reason, he also thought of Chengshou. In his fantasies, Chengshou was intertwined with him, accompanying him through countless indescribable days and nights. Afterwards, no matter how many attractive men and women Xiaochun met, he could never forget Chengshou, who had opened that door for him. The key point is, after thinking about it for so many years, he hadn't arrived too late. How could one not be unforgettable? Xiaochun asked whether to give a ride or not, and I came up with a better solution. Then he dragged Chengshou into the car. Cheng Shou asked what they were doing today. Dala said, we're going on a date today. Hey, young Master Xiao, long time no see. A brief introduction. The one saying hello is Ju Tong from next door, the male lead of Inherited Wealth. His Chinese name is Wen Shaohui, and his English name is Andy. Xiaochun brought Cheng Shou to a hair salon, and Andy is the owner. Xiaochun said, Andy, you've changed your nose again. Wasn't the previous one fine? Andy hooked his arm around Xiaochun's and said he strives for perfection. Xiaochun coughed unnaturally twice. Andy then noticed Li Chengshou, and they greeted each other warmly. Andy sized up Chengshou from head to toe. Chengshou felt uneasy under his gaze. Xiaochun said, what are you standing there for? Hurry up and give him a sharp haircut. Chengshou said, you want me to cut my hair? But my hair isn't long, and this isn't work. I want to go home. Xiaochun pulled Chengshou back and said, cutting your hair is also work. You represent my image as my personal chef. You're part of my image. Chengshou, you're working for me now. You have to meet the employer's demands. Chengshou hesitated, but remembering the manager's words, he reluctantly agreed to Dali's plan. Andy chimed in, let's wash your hair first. Relax a bit. Can I call you Chengshou? How did you and young Master Xiao meet? Chengshou said, he hired me to cook. We were in the same middle school. Andy understood their relationship, reminded, some things are not for me to say. But I see you're an honest person, so, Xiaochun is quite a jerk. I see you're not from this circle. Some things are inconvenient to say too much. Just be careful with him. Don't take his word for everything. Do you understand what I'm saying? Chengshou said thank you, thinking no need to remind. He also felt Xiaochun was too ostentatious, too unreliable. Although he always says he likes me, but it always felt strangely nervous and scared. The next moment like shunning him. Andy brought Chengshou to Xiaochun who was discussing work. Xiaochun hung up the phone. Looking at Chengshou who had his haircut, said, you look beautiful. Andy satisfiedly said, just as I imagined, I'm a genius, just short of changing his style completely. Xiaochun thought, yeah, changing clothes would be better, more beautiful. Chengshou said I'm not changing clothes. I'm just in the kitchen, he thought. Xiaochun wants to make me look good. Is just because he finds me not decent enough. Unwilling to stand with me. My clothes are not stolen or robbed. Even if they're not good looking, I won't be ashamed. Xiaochun said, Chengshou, making yourself look nice, won't you feel better too? Chengshou firmly said, I'm not an ornament. Xiaochun helplessly said, get in the car, if not buying then not buying. Chengshou asked aren't we working today? Xiaochun said, I've already said, today is a date, don't forget these 2 weeks you are mine. Xiaochun took Chengshou to a high-end residential area. Chengshou asked, what are we doing here? Xiaochun said, you'll know in a moment. As he spoke, Xiaochun brought Chengshou to a luxurious new apartment and asked if she liked it. From now on, you'll live here, he said. Within 3 days, I'll have everything fully furnished. He added, how can anyone live in the house you're in? If anything happened to you, no one would even know. Stop living in such a place. After moving here, it'll be easier for me to come by. Chengshou refused and said, why should I live here? I have my own home. Xiaochun said, I'm just concerned about you. Living in that kind of place isn't good for your health. I would feel heartbroken. Chengshou responded, thanks for your concern, but I don't feel uncomfortable. I can't live in your house. The temper of the young master of Russia was about to explode. He grabbed Chengshou and slammed her hard against the wall. What was he about to do to our Shu? Find out in the next episode. Xiaochun furrowed his brow. He didn't expect Chengshou to reject his concern so firmly. Xiaochun, angered, grabbed Chengshou. He pressed her hard against the wall again and said, Chengshou, why do you always reject my kindness? I just want to be good to you. Can't you give me a chance? Chengshou awkwardly turned her head away and said, let go of me first. Not only did Xiaochun not let go, but he got even closer. Chengshou, I want to kiss you. As he spoke, he tried to force a kiss. No matter how much Chengshou struggled, he didn't stop until she was out of breath. When he finally let go, tears welled up in her eyes. See, you have feelings for me too, don't you? Chengshou blushed and said to Xiaochun, feeling wronged, let go of me. Xiaochun said, what did you say? While Dai was not paying attention, Chengshou fiercely bit on Xiao Quan's arm without letting go. Dai slapped Xiaochun in the face, and at that moment, Chengshou pushed Xiaochun away. She ran out, but before she could make it down the stairs, Xiaochun caught her again. Dai wasn't planning on letting Xiaochun go today. Xiaochun grabbed Chengshou, apologizing, Chengshou, I'm sorry, I was just too impulsive. Chengshou pointed at Xiaochun and said, you're a bastard. Xiaochun replied, yes, I am a bastard, but Chengshou, I just like you. I couldn't control myself, Xiaochun said. Chengshou responded, I want to go home. Xiaochun reassured her, don't worry, I'll let you go home, but you have to forgive me first. Do you still remember that kiss on the rooftop all those years ago? That was our first love. I don't believe you've forgotten it. I still remember how I felt back then. It was the most beautiful feeling, like I had the whole world. Tell me, who kissed who first back then? Cheng Shu said she didn't know. Xiao Chun said, I don't know either, but I know our feelings were different. Cheng Shu, honestly tell me, back then, you liked me too, didn't you? I'm sure of it. I could feel it. I still like the old Xiao Chun, but now we've both grown up. I would never act so weak again. I'll be even better to you than I was back then. Why not give it a try and like me again, okay? Cheng Shu was silent, her face wet with tears. Xiao Chun secretly hugged Cheng Shu, thinking about the feeling at that time. We could definitely still grow together. Think about that kiss back then, remember? We just barely touched. I still remember your lips had grease, and that feeling was strangely good. Saying that, he pinched Cheng Shu's cheek and kissed her again. Cheng Shu told Xiao Chun, now that we've both grown up, Xiao Chun, actually, we've grown up. My feelings for you haven't changed. Can we give each other a chance? Cheng Shu lowered her head and hesitated, I don't know. Xiao Chun quickly said, it's okay, take your time. But please, don't reject me anymore, alright? Cheng Shu firmly said, I won't live in your house. Xiao Chun had no choice but to sigh, alright, I won't force you. I just want you to have it better. I didn't mean anything else. Cheng Shu replied, thank you. Xiao Chun touched Cheng Shu's cheek, saying, you really are stubborn. Alright, let's go. I'll take you out to eat. There's a lot of work coming up to keep you busy. In the following days, Cheng Shu and Xiao Chun met almost every day. Xiao Chun treated her to food and drinks, and treated her with even more care. Xiao Chun was gentle and considerate, while Cheng Shu, for the first time in her life, was being pursued and valued. Having someone by her side felt so special. Although Cheng Shu reminded herself every day not to get ahead of herself, she still looked forward to seeing Xiao Chun the next day. Just like when they first met, as the banquet date approached, she felt a sense of loss. No matter how good it would eventually come to an end. As the time for the banquet drew closer, he felt an unexpected sense of loss in his heart. No matter how wonderful a dream is, it has to end eventually. Suddenly, the phone rang. Thinking it might be Xiao Chun calling, he answered, but felt a bit disappointed. It was his manager, who told him that Mr. Chen had deliberately arranged a staff dormitory with excellent conditions for him. He was to move in today. Not many people at the hotel received such good treatment, so he shouldn't let Mr. Chen's kindness go to waste. Cheng Shou mentioned that he hadn't terminated his current apartment lease yet, which required a 2-month notice, or else he would lose his deposit. The manager said the hotel would take care of the deposit and urged him to pack his belongings quickly, send over his home address, and he would come to pick him up. Furniture wasn't needed as everything was fully provided there. Manager Zhang hung up before Cheng Shou could reply. Cheng Shou wondered why Manager Zhang, who usually ignored him, was suddenly so eager to help him move. It all seemed very suspicious. Upon arriving at the so-called luxury staff dormitory, Cheng Shou recognized it immediately. It was the same house Xiao Chun had shown him a few days ago. Manager Zhang said the stuff was yours once it's done. Cheng Shou quickly stopped Manager Zhang, who was about to leave, and said he couldn't live here. Manager Zhang shook off Cheng Shou's hand and said it was up to him to explain. He was only there to complete Mr. Chen's orders. Cheng Shou, you're really being unreasonable. Mr. Chen is good to you, and you refuse. Let me put it this way. If you make Xiaozong happy, everyone is happy. If Xiaozong is unhappy, all your years of hard work will be for nothing. You decide for yourself. It was getting dark. Xiao Chun returned home to find Cheng Shou squatting on the ground and asked why he didn't lock the door, wasn't he afraid of burglars, and why he didn't turn on the light. Cheng Shou retorted, aren't you the burglar, yourself? Before Cheng Shou could stand up and speak, Xiao Chun said, I know what you're going to say. Don't be mad. You must be tired from moving. Come over, I bought your favorite rice noodles. Cheng Shou said to Xiao Chun, why are you acting like this? I already said I won't live here. Xiao Chun explained, when having breakfast with your boss, I casually mentioned that your living conditions weren't great. Your boss felt bad and wanted to arrange a better single room for you, but there wasn't anything suitable available at the time. Just so happens this place is vacant, so why not rent it to someone familiar? It'd also give everyone peace of mind. Saying this, he pulled Cheng Shou to go eat, but Cheng Shou shook off his hand. You did this on purpose. Xiao Chun admitted, yes, I did it on purpose, but it's reasonable, isn't it? The house wasn't given to you by me. It's rented by your boss as employee accommodation. Xiao Chun coaxed, don't be mad, okay? I know it wasn't right not to discuss it with you beforehand, but you reacted too strongly before. I was afraid you'd back out if you knew. The truth is, I feel sorry for you. I just want to be nice to you. But you always reject my good intentions, and it hurts me to think about you living in that kind of place. It's so hot in the summer, the transportation isn't convenient, and the security is bad. Cheng Shou, I care about you. I'm worried about you, don't you understand? Do you still remember when we were kids? I always brought you good food, and later I even rented a place just for you. Back then, you didn't want my food, didn't want to live in my place. But as kids, I used to scare people with my fists. You were afraid of me, so you had no choice but to accept. At the time, I only wanted to be good to you. When you refused, I got angry. It's the same now. I just want to be good to you, but I won't scare you anymore. If you refuse, I'll be very sad. Seeing Cheng Shu's expression soften, Xiao Chun took the opportunity to grab Cheng Shu's hand and said, "Doesn't this place feel like home? When I see it, I think of the house we rented back then and our beautiful memories. Don't you feel nostalgic at all?" Taking the chance to get closer, Xiao Chun quickly kissed Cheng Shu on the cheek. Cheng Shu's face instantly turned red, but Xiao Chun shamelessly grabbed Cheng Shu and hugged him, happily saying, "Little Cheng Shu, you didn't refuse. Does this mean I've already succeeded?" Holding Cheng Shu's face, he said, "Have you fallen for me?" Xiao Chun held Cheng Shu's face and asked, "Have you fallen for me?" Cheng Shu turned her face away and said, "No, I don't know." Seeing Cheng Shu's shy demeanor, Xiao Chun said, "All right. I won't press you anymore, you'll admit it sooner or later. Come on, don't let my darling go hungry, let's eat." After dinner, Cheng Shu also folded the last piece of clothing. At that moment, Xiao Chun brewed a pot of tea, inviting Cheng Shu to come to the balcony to rest after packing her luggage. Xiao Chun asked Cheng Shu if she liked the environment here, to which Cheng Shu replied she did, thanking him and noting the nice breeze, saying even in the daytime it wasn't too hot, so she wouldn't worry about him getting heatstroke if they lived here. "The natural breeze is nice, better than air conditioning," said Cheng Shu. The elder brother, planning mischief, slowly moved closer to Cheng Shu, touching his face and said, "The day after tomorrow you'll start work, it'll be a busy whole day. Are you ready?" Cheng Shu assured him there was no need to worry, as that was her specialty. Xiao Chun added sentimentally, "But once you're busy, we can't see each other every day. I'll really miss you." As his fingers gently touched Shu's lips, "Cheng Shu, be mine. I will treat you well." Xiao Chun saw that Cheng Shu was hesitant. He continued, "Are you still going to say you don't know? Cheng Shu, you're an adult now. Don't you even know what you want? Look at me. Let me ask you, do you hate me?" Cheng Shu shook her head indicating she didn't. "Then are you happy when you're with me?" At this moment, Cheng Shu blushed and tacitly agreed. "If that's the case, why can't we be together? I can give you a life beyond your imagination." Cheng Shu replied, "We're not suitable." Xiao Chun, unwilling to give up, asked, "Why do you think that? In what way are we not suitable?" Cheng Shu thought to herself, "We're incompatible in every way. I've never made much progress since I was young, and I still feel uncertain about the future. But Xiao Chun remains so outstanding and brilliant. I can't understand why he likes me. It all feels like a dream. If I take one more step forward, will I accidentally wake from this dream?" Xiao Chun then said, "Cheng Shu, I like you. You just need to stay with me. Don't worry about all those other things." Cheng Shu pushed Xiao Chun away and said, "I need to think about it more." Xiao Chun had no choice but to say, "All right, I'll give you more time." Before he could finish, Xiao Chun's phone rang. He glanced at it and got up to leave, saying he needed to take the call. It was Awen calling, saying they were all coming to the party. Xiao Chun replied, "Damn, all of you are coming just to see Li Cheng Shu? Don't you have anything better to do?" "Yeah, I'm with him right now, still trying to win him over. Enough for tonight. We're civilized people here, not about to resort to brute force. If I touch him even a little, he looks ready to scratch me. Of course there's no problem. If I can't handle one little girl, can I still call myself Xiao Chun? You have no idea how patient I am with him. But I'm warning you, you can come, but don't mess up my plans." After hanging up the phone, Xiao Chun's expression changed so quickly. He walked over to Cheng Shu and suddenly picked up Cheng Shane, who was almost asleep. Cheng Shu, startled, said, "Put me down, I just dozed off for a bit." Xiao Chun coaxed, "Don't move around, if you keep moving, I'll throw you off the balcony." Cheng Shu hurriedly grabbed Xiao Chun's neck and said, "I can walk by myself." Xiao Chun replied, "I have to carry my wife into the bridal chamber, right? Why are you in such a hurry? Are you saying I'm carrying you too slowly?" When they got to the bedroom, Xiao Chun tossed Cheng Shu onto the bed. He got on top of him, and Cheng Shu nervously asked, "What are you doing?" Xiao Chun said, "Why are you so nervous? Do you think I'd force myself on you?" As he pressed himself closer, he said, "I'm just hugging you like when we were kids." Cheng Shu thought to himself, a heartbeat never lies. People always say when you like someone, your heart races. He felt like his heart was about to leap out of his throat, and he could feel Xiao Chun's heartbeat too, just as fast. Does this mean he likes me too? The day of the party arrived quickly. Cheng Shu stood on the pier listening to the staff introducing the luxury yacht in front of him, mentioning that today's guests were distinguished, not many, but everything prepared was exquisite. Chef Li Let's hurry to the kitchen and start preparing. As soon as Cheng Shu entered the kitchen, he got into a serious working mode, skillfully handling a variety of ingredients. The staff said that the preparations were almost done. Go upstairs, the boss is waiting for you. When Xiao Chun saw Cheng Shu coming up, he quickly grabbed him and pulled him to the railing. Cheng Shu awkwardly looked around. Xiao Chun said, "It's okay, there's no one here. Even if there was, so what? This boat is my private property." "You too," Cheng Shu blushed, thinking to himself, are we really in a relationship now? Xiao Chun is so natural about it. We've kissed, we've hugged. Wouldn't it be a bit pretentious not to admit it? Xiao Chun held Cheng Shu and said, "You must be tired. You've been busy since the morning until now. After today, take a few days to rest. I'll talk to your boss." Cheng Shu agreed. Xiao Chun asked him, "Is this tanker beautiful?" Cheng Shu said it was very beautiful. Xiao Chun then started talking about the origin of the tanker and added, "This is nothing. When I get rich, I'll buy a bigger one." Cheng Shu looked at Xiao Chun with admiration and said, "You're amazing." Suddenly, Xiao Chun, blushing, pulled Cheng Shu and said, "Come inside and sit. The wind is strong outside." Once they were in the second-floor bedroom, Xiao Chun locked the door and pushed Cheng Shu against the wall. He tightly held Cheng Shu's waist. No matter how much Cheng Shu struggled, it was no use. Only when Cheng Shu was almost out of breath did Xiao Chun let go. Then he pushed him onto the bed. A startled Cheng Shu hurriedly grabbed Xiao Chun and asked, "What are you doing?" Xiao Chun said, "Don't be scared, Cheng Shu. We're both men. Don't you have needs too? Give yourself to me, okay?" As he spoke, he started lifting Cheng Shu's shirt with his hands. Shu Shou dodged and expressed her fear. Xiao Chun was very annoyed, thinking, "Damn, I've spent over a month on this, acting all nice, and now when it's finally time to succeed, I can't even take a bite. That's what I think, but I have to keep up the act, or all my efforts will be wasted." So he hugged Cheng Shu Shou, gently coaxing her, "It's okay, don't be afraid. If you don't want to, I won't force you. I will respect your wishes." Cheng Shu Shou pushed Xiao Chun away, saying she was still busy with work and left first. Xiao Chun watched her leave, muttering, "This person is such a hassle, really a mood killer." After finishing her work, a staff member told Cheng Shu Shou, "The boss is still waiting for you in that daytime room." Cheng Shu Shou nodded, "Okay." At that moment, Xiao Chun came out with a glass of red wine, asking Cheng Shu Shou, "Finished with work? Are you tired?" He leaned closer to Cheng Shu Shou, smelling of marinade, and hurried her to take a shower as the clothes were already prepared. Cheng Shu Shou asked, "What are you up to?" Xiao Chun pushed her towards the bathroom, saying he was taking her to a party. Cheng Shu Shou didn't want to go, but Xiao Chun assertively said, "Give you 20 minutes, hurry up and wash. There's a surprise waiting for you later." Zhao Ji mentioned that Xiao Chun insists on taking Cheng Shu Shou to the party and has a surprise for her. Xiao Chun, probably getting a bit impatient, pushed open the bathroom door and asked Cheng Shu Shou, "Are you done?" Xiao Chun looked at the clothes he had carefully prepared for him, thinking to himself that clothes indeed make the man. Dressed like this, he looks exceptionally fair and delicate, and it even brightens his spirit. While thinking, he placed his hand on his shoulder. "Baby, you look so good in this, I almost don't want to take you out. Let's go out. I'll introduce you to a few people." Xiao Chun took Cheng Shu to meet a few people. Cheng Shu saw the people he disliked the most and felt a strong aversion. He thought, didn't Xiao Chun say I wouldn't have to meet them if I didn't want to? Zhou Li tiredly said with irritability, "Monster, it really is Li Cheng Shu. Do you remember me?" Xiao Chun noticed Cheng Shu's nervousness and hurriedly explained, "It's them who insisted on coming. I can't control their legs, can I?" Xiao Chun then warned Zhou Li, "Don't scare him." Zhou Li teased, "Starting to show affection already? I'm just getting closer to talk. Look, you're already concerned for him." Li Wenchun also stepped forward to greet Cheng Shu. "Li Cheng Shu, long time no see. You and Xiao Chun really are fated. To think you'd run into each other again after so many years. We were all quite surprised when he told us." Cheng Shu resented these people and didn't want to speak at all. Xiao Chun handed Cheng Shu a glass of fruit wine. "We're old schoolmates meeting in a different place. You have to drink a glass no matter what." Li Wenchun hypocritically said, "We were immature when we were kids. Thinking about it now, it seems pretty childish and ridiculous. You look uncomfortable. Are you still angry about what happened back then? Let me and a few brothers drink first as a way to apologize, okay?" Saying this, he finished his drink in one gulp. Zhou Lixi, grinning, said, "Ah Wen, that's thoughtful of you. Then I'll drink too. Come to think of it, I even fought you back then. Ah, it's been so long, who remembers now? I'll finish this glass too." Cheng Shu thought bitterly, to them, it's just a ridiculous thing they did as children, but it ruined my future. If it weren't for them, I wouldn't have encountered such harsh situations at school. If I had gone home earlier, perhaps my mother could have been saved in time. Although sometimes I feel that a person's fate is preordained, and Xiaochun and the others just added to what was bound to happen, I still can't completely let go. Seeing them still fills me with disgust. Xiaochun also mentioned that Cheng Shu should give them some face since they all apologized. At this point, Cheng Shu didn't want to say much. He picked up his glass and downed it in one go. They were all acting appropriately around Xiaochun, planning to get Cheng Shu drunk. One by one, they kept pouring drinks for Cheng Shu. Cheng Shu felt the alcohol tasted like a beverage and thought he wouldn't get drunk easily. They successfully got Cheng Shu drunk. Xiaochun threw the unconscious Cheng Shu onto the bed and locked the door. Xiaochun wore a smug expression, thinking back to the days when he didn't get to taste him. Luckily, he ran into him again. Although it wasn't as great as when they were younger, it wasn't too bad either. He vowed to take full advantage today, to compensate for his youthful regrets. Saying that, he started to undress Cheng Shu and moved on top of him. Just as he was turning Cheng Shu over and over again, Cheng Shu suddenly woke up, his eyes wide open before he could speak. He was immediately pinned down again by Xiaochun, who forbade him from struggling any further. Thinking to himself, since he's been developing his career in Shenzhen lately, it might be necessary to keep such a well-informed little plaything to pass the time. He was somewhat annoyed but liked the inherent submissiveness and quietness in him, which he considered a plus. After Cheng Shu came to his senses, he felt an indescribable pain somewhere, wondering why it hurt so much there. This is when Shusho sees Xiaochun right by her side. Xiaochun opens his eyes and says, "Baby, you're awake?" Shusho quickly sits up, covering her chest, too flustered to speak. Xiaochun looks at Shusho calmly and says, "You were really passionate last night, much to my surprise."